welcome to this edition of Nollywood in Review. It's a special edition, special because we are celebrating the 80th birthday of Professor Femi Osofisan, who has generously invited us and given us the opportunity to be at his place in Ibadan. He's a playwright, a novelist, an essayist, a short story writer. I mean, he's what I would call a compendium when we look at his work. But then I think I would probably, give us the opportunity to just at least hear, let him talk briefly about himself before we go to, Professor Shola with a, you know, kind of complete introduction. Um, please, sir.
Well, good afternoon. I don't know what else you want to. You said everything except that okay. I also write poetry.
Okay.
That's the one you didn't mention. Um, so all of us, I'm sure, write poetry. So that's not basically important. Um, yeah, I don't know what else I'm supposed to say,
Okay.
but I try to chronicle the life of our nation.
All right.
Maybe Shola wants.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Shola.
Professor Osofisan, as you've said, is one of our foremost writers, not just in Nigeria, but in Africa. Intellectual writer, so original work, creative writing, said poetry, novels, plays, drama, essays. Of course, for years he had columns in the Guardian newspaper and the Daily Times newspaper in the Nation, and he's won awards for his drama, he's won awards for his poetry, and even for his criticism. He won the 2016 Thalia Award for critics. Um, and we've just celebrated his 80th
Birthday.
birthday, which was on the 16th of June this year. He was born in 1946 at Erunwa, near Ijebu-Ode, and went to Government College Ibadan, and then went to University of Ibadan from 1966 to 1969 before starting his postgraduate work at the University of Paris, Sorbonne, at the University in Paris, and then came back, submitted his speech at the University of Ibadan, where he started speech there. But he actually has one of the remarkable careers for teaching in three departments: modern European languages, English, and theatre. And also taught at other universities: University of Benin, University of Ife, Lome, and Suka, and everywhere else. Yeah, so good afternoon, Professor Shefferson. Retiring from University of Ibadan and being made emeritus. How has your experience been over these past 80 years? What can you tell us about?
Well, it's been up and down. I mean, that's life as this, as we say in Yoruba, Tibitire ni láyé yìí. There have been bad moments, there have been good moments, just everything. But I mean, the essential thing is that just for the sake of those who are listening to this, that it's been mainly self-reliance. I've had to depend on myself mostly because I have a father who pilots things or arranges things for me. No father. I lost my father when I was just 2 months old. And then, with a very poor mother, having to pass through various relatives and so on. So mainly I've had to depend on myself, which is now I recognize very, very good training because it allows you no pretentious priests or patrons or something because they are dependent on this. Right from the start, I had that feeling that if I was going to achieve anything, it would have to be through my own efforts. So I've had to do that. Of course, I mean, with a lot of help from friends, from various people, help, kindness, Otherwise, I mean, but then the essential thing is that you have to rely on yourself.
Hmm.
You have to know where you're going.
But it must be
Yeah,
very difficult
yeah,
to be able
it's
to
a
do
bit
that.
difficult, but you see, that's how life is. Life is difficult, so in fact, this is what I really was looking for when I was writing. If you can create a society where you don't have to depend on luck. I mean, many of us started just as I started, and many of them have dropped by the way. I've
Hmm.
been lucky, exceptionally lucky, I must say.
So you believe in luck?
Well, it has helped me. I mean, this is what has helped me. Luck, of course. If I didn't have this luck, I would have dropped out myself.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You know, luck in finding the right friends, the right motivations, and just not waiting for somebody to come and do it for me. Just thinking that well, I have to do it myself.
What we just said now makes, because this is for Nollywood reviews, and we're going to focus more on your work that's been adapted or made into films.
Into film, yeah.
What you just told us seems like what informed Miami,
Exactly.
one of your
I was,
novelettes, which was adapted by Tune Kelani into the film. Was that biographical?
No, it's not biographical. I mean, of course, biographical in the sense that we all depend on what we hear, what we see, what to put together, but not in the sense that that's the life I lived. Um, the poverty, of course, was something I experienced, which maybe informs my worldview. I'm always on the side of the poor, of the undertrodden, of those who don't have their voices expressed in the papers and so on. I always, sympathetic to such people because they are the ones I think who merit any kind of attention. Because the society doesn't have to be like that at all. You don't have to be like that. If we have enough for everybody to live a good life. But if some people want more than, of course, then they deprive others. They don't let others have a good life, whereas they want a better life all the time. So that's why me was, as you know, was just a story I had to write because and it just came at the right time, you see, because I was at the Guardian at the time, as you said, a columnist, also a member of the think tank, running the place. We had absolute freedom over our columns.
columns, yeah.
Was one of the reasons why we started. I agreed to be part of that team that started the Guardian. Nobody, you write your own feeling, your opinion, whatever you like, as long as it's not libelous.
Hmm.
That's all. If it's not libelous or criminal and something, you can write it anything you want. You know, even against the wishes of the newspaper,
Of the
perhaps.
chief.
You know, you see,
That's what I
because
want to see.
the Guardian opinion columns, opinion, yes, the editorials were the official position of the
Hmm.
paper, but even if you disagree, you could write it. You were assigned to write it, but then you had the freedom now to write your own column, disagreeing with that, if you like. So that was very useful, very nice opinion. And at the time, I was writing my own, but Guardian was very strictly free, and so of course, inevitably, we had clashes with the authorities,
A lot
and
of them.
so and sometimes it affected the paper. I mean, so I think at the time I was beginning to get on the toes of the authorities, as the editor kindly told me that you can't stop your column, but you get into trouble and so on. What do you want to do about it? So the option was that I should stop it and stop writing.
Okay.
So I went and thought and said, well, okay, you can say the same thing in fiction
Hmm.
as you are saying in plain language. the only thing that the fiction protects you because they think it's a story, but it has more impact on the people. So we're talking of poverty, and people are saying, no, 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 there's no poverty. After all, people are not eating from those beans. Yes. So, and I decided, okay, this is what I will do then. Turn my column into a fiction column. Mhm. Again, at the time, of course, one of the reasons why I went to the Guardian, for example, was to promote literature, literary work. So there are many of us who are writers there also. And but you see, it's a newspaper.
Yeah.
There are limits. You can't it's not a literature book. But it's easier to promote poetry because the space is short. Write the criticism about reviews, about plays, and so. But what of fiction? What's the problem? Why do we promote fiction now? And I try to get some pages off for fiction. This newspaper is not supposed to be inside.
But it was allowed. That's the in the long run.
So well, you see, I could control my column. Nobody could. So I said, okay, I will now convert my column to fiction writing. Mhm.
Hmm.
This was what happened. So I changed it and took a different name. Began to write exactly what I would have written in essays. Right, the same topic, the poverty going on, uh, and so one day I went, I was still living in Ibadan then, of course, although I was working in Lagos. So one weekend I took my wife, we went to Moniya, the market, that's kind of Ibadan. That time it was very small, just vegetable, meat particularly. We brought cattle from the north. We buy cheaply, you know. So every Sunday we went there. And this Sunday I was sitting in the car just while she was shopping. And I noticed this woman, you know, who was by the meat stalls, picking bones and scraping, I mean, how much meat will be left on the bones
On the
when
bone.
the sellers finish. They see and threw it into the dustbin and she go and take the waste and start. I was watching her and I said, this is very curious. Finally, I decided to go and investigate. And it turned out that the woman said, her son's birthday was that day. And he asked for meat that he had not eaten. That when she realized she had not given him meat for a year.
Wow.
And she said, well, you have the money to buy meat. So the only thing is to come and scrape whatever is in. I was so touched by this. Meat, people all around doing their business, not. And she was scraping. How much is scraping? Blah, blah, blah. I bought her the meat anyway, and there's a number of people that even chipped in, you know. So I must write this story.
Hmm.
People are saying that there's no poverty because people are not eating from the north dustbins. But look at this, look at the child, I was so to write it now. I began to write the story. I mean, had to have a background, had to have to make it. Well, I designed. Before that, I was just writing one column per week, a story per week. But this story needed a background, so I decided to write and it began to grow. Miami 1, Miami 2. Now, of course, the Guardian had his own policy there too. According to our editor, if you want to say anything, you can say it in one column. There's nothing you can say. When we were writing, he told us the training we had was for 500 words. 500 words, you said what you wanted to say, that's all. If it's more than that, then you are embellishing. So just, but there's nothing you want to say that you cannot say in 500 words. It was tough. It was tough meeting that deadline. So, and then at most two columns, one, two. But then he started saying Miami 1, Miami
Mommy
2.
two, mommy three.
But he didn't call it Miami, he thought it was Miami. He says Miami, this Miami 1, Miami 3. What's this Miami? So he called me and said, what is this, my this was Stanley, you know. Bro.
Stanley Makibu.
Stephen Makibo, yeah.
What is this? You know, I said, okay, all right, I will end it. You know, it was when we get towards the end of the year. So I think two more columns I ended the story. You know, in those days, you never had any feedback from the public. It's not that these days where everybody has a phone or anything,
Yeah,
you
social
just
media, yeah.
send anything. No, you, you wrote, you didn't know what the public thought.
Hmm.
So I didn't, there was no feedback. We were just writing this story. I said, okay, I ended the job. I ended it. And then that was when the surprise came. People were calling from here and there.
I remember reading it then, followed it religiously. Yeah.
What's this? What's that?
Why did you
Where
stop it?
Oh, the editor then I understand. You see now. I said he wasn't reading. He was just doing Miami. Say, look at yourself now.
Hmm.
So, but it was interesting, you know, because I had never known that people were so interested in things, you know.
Oh yeah.
So not just the story, but that they were even reading. You know, the popular thing we think is that people don't read.
Hmm.
So what do you? But they do read certain things, you know.
Oh yeah.
So it occurred to me that well, maybe this is if people will not go to literature, maybe literature should go to the people.
Hmm.
And
Uh,
then later you published it as a novelist. How did the
that was
com-
later, much later.
how did the commission with Tunde Kelani come about
Yeah.
for you to?
Well, you know, I think he read the series, the series in the paper, you know, and um, that wasn't the one in fact, because the next series I started, I was thinking, why do people get so passionate about this story? Why are they? I said maybe I should try a different style
Mhm.
so to see whether they will have the same
Same reaction.
audience. So I decided to write about university, Cordelia, university man, my colleagues have problems. And then the coup, the junta coup came and
It was
we had problems. So I said, okay, let me write
13th
about this.
February 1976.
Yeah, you know dates. My problems with dates. So, I started that Cordelia Beach for the university man and the wife and this girl, poor student who was a relative of Jim Carr or something like that. Again, I was writing it column by column, and this time it was my wife who forced me to stop it
Hmm.
because you
Because
see,
we're
it
gonna
was
get you
about
into
this
trouble.
university man and happy relationship with his wife and all. People will stop and say, "Sorry, we didn't know we didn't know that your marriage was so."
They read other meanings
Yeah.
into it.
That's so
Yeah.
funny. Say sorry, we didn't know. Say, but they say, but it's not me. It's not
Hmm.
me. Say,
It's
anyway,
fiction.
finally, I just had to stop because of that. Say, well, let's stop so that you can have rest of mind.
That's kind of interesting. Yeah,
Very,
I
very
was I
interesting.
was thinking, in Cordelia, still the story. The I mean, it's kind of interesting because now talking about the reality behind the story. I
Mm.
mean, because that scene you mentioned in Miami, the
Yeah,
film,
in the market.
the market. Oh my gosh, it was just. I mean, just too touching
Yeah.
Mm.
when you really look at it, the reality. And I think again, kudos to TK for capturing it so beautifully and so realistically. Um, so the man, the father
Mm-hmm.
who became so mean. So what? So was there any motivation for that? Of course, I know that there are some mean fathers, but for him to have gone into such diabolical acts and so on, that's what
Yeah,
kind of.
but that was going on all around us too.
Yeah.
Maybe not as blatant as it is now. People, but it was going around. People sacrificing. And what I wanted to try and say was that it didn't. It wasn't that was helping them. I mean, I don't know anybody who's making money from that kind of thing. You know, it seems like it's just a psychological thing. It hardens them to other cruelties. That's all. Because killing somebody, but it seems to be. I mean, this widespread society belief without anybody actually saying that I know. But it was a great belief, and Nollywood was full of that. Mm. So when TK came, actually, he wanted to do Cordelia. That's what the film he wanted to do. He came to me and said, I've been reading this, and just before then, all these things just come together. Nollywood had held a conference in Lagos, you about their future and others, and I had presented the lead paper there talking about how they could now move forward. It was to look at the literature that we were producing, you know, and see if they can inspire themselves so that, as happens abroad, take popular novels, adapt them to film, and that makes them, So I said, well, this is instead of this constant, thing about fetish, fetish or something. They can, use stories. So I think Kilani was one of those who was concerned, listening to that, because all his works have always taken off from novels.
From novels,
He
yes.
reads, and
Particularly
and that's
interested
why
in
his films are very, very powerful and very to the point in our culture. Especially work with Akinwumi Ishola, who was my
Misholas,
friend,
yes.
and Faliti. Um, so when he came, I said, well, we're writing these things. I see the popularity is already proven because of the newspaper reaction and all that. Why don't you, have you even read Miami? So he took it off and then he wanted to do that again. he, he wants to do all these things. But anyway, I'm not surprised because writing for the newspaper, there are certain techniques you use anyway, which will appeal to the popular audience. So that's how it came about to do Miami. When he did it finally, I think he was having financial problems, and I think he then wanted the Lagos State government to approve it. I think that's where if I got the financial
Is that
backing.
where the story changed?
Yes, then the story
Because
changed
the
to
Mami
football. And
story,
then
the
football was
novelist
very much in
story.
the air. So he changed it to that. I didn't quite agree with that, but he did a good job of it.
Yeah. So
Mm.
did you see the film at any time, the product, the Mami? Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched it. That's what I mean. Not when it was shooting, I
Sure.
didn't watch it.
No,
But I watched it, and
the
that's why
the,
I'm
the
talking
final
about the
product. Because
final
I
product.
asked that question because Funke Akindele in the lead role. Um, in my opinion, I think she did a very good job.
She was. No, the actress did very well. It's
Yeah.
just the story I say I'm a bit worried about because seem to have
Changed.
changed it a bit, the focus a bit, to football. That's okay, but
Okay, yeah,
And
the
what do you
football.
think of that?
Yeah,
no, as I said, it was okay for the period, but that wasn't the focus I wanted to give it. I
yeah.
wanted to give it the actual socio-economic reality problems of the society then about the poverty and so on. But the way he did it, well, he did it well in the end because he didn't deviate too much from the major thing. But I would rather he didn't do that. But well,
Do you think it's an issue for cinematographers to change the focus of a novel or a play?
no, it's not. It's not. It's not. You can't have a hard and fast rule. You see, 'cause, will depend on circumstances. Okay, he read the story, wanted to do it, but by the time he wanted to do it, he had to think of the financial implications,
Implication.
and so he did that way. Um, I think that this. I mean, it's not even I think about. That this has been a perpetual problem with writers and the people who interpret the stories.
Mhm.
Sometimes I remember Bertolt Brecht. No, it wasn't Bertolt Brecht. It was our friend, the Irish poet. What's his name again? Who was going to a rehearsal. They were rehearsing. And he was
He was mad.
kept shouting, "Don't do that!" So at the point, he just saw three people coming towards him. And they just carried him physically and threw him out of the jet. He was disturbing them. You see, because once you sign your contract, and that's all. You know nothing. You can't. Yeah, yeah. And you remember Shoyinka denouncing the London production of
Yeah, of Death and the King's Swordsman.
yeah.
Actually, the
Was it
artist
that
is
and
threatening
discuss
to sue
first anyway,
uh,
that London
this
theater.
this rich
Mm.
this guy who wrote a very bad review of Death and the King's Swordsman. Yeah,
Well, I mean,
yeah,
he had written it thinking he
mhm,
would direct it, you see.
yeah.
So, but he
Oh,
couldn't. I
okay.
mean, the politics of the theater, they had to give it to one of them, a young boy who didn't have any experience of
Experience.
African
African
theater,
theater.
anything. And he did it the way he would do the English version. It was really bad. Um,
Now, Mami and Cordelia came out of newspaper columns and adapted by TK, but those were not the only works of yours that
That,
were
that were adapted to
adaptation.
theater.
How did the Ewu Jumi come about?
no, 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 no. In fact, he didn't have any even reference to me at all. He was my student.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think he did as a student project. I don't know. I just saw it. He
Mm,
didn't reply to me at all.
mm,
Unfortunately, they had a quarrel. I don't know why.
mm.
Cass and
Okay. Was it
Because
they
produced
Ewu
eventually?
Jumi is the
did it.
Yoruba adaptation of A Restless
A wrestler or
Runner-Lagos,
something. Okay. No course.
and
Okay.
it was written and produced by Ademola Aremu
I don't know.
Academy in 2008,
Okay.
and directed by Niji Akoni.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I can't,
so
Nietzsche is a very good director.
Oh yes.
Yeah, very, very
No,
good
it was
director.
I kind of like the film. I mean, although I can't remember now. I can't remember what I had against it, but it was unfortunately they just had this quarrel, and I don't know. Uh, yeah, I was impressed that he even did it at all. Mm.